folks, John here on Hickory Forge. Welcome back. If it's your first time here, welcome. What's going on today? I'm down here in the workshop. We got our chain Canister Damascus San Bowie knife, and we're going to see if we can get it done today. So if you want to check it out, stick around. Alrighty, so my plan for the handle of this knife is I want to make something kind of like an S-guard out of this here piece of coarse grain wrought iron. For the handle itself, I have this pretty sweet piece of material here. This is stabilized cholla cactus cast in green aluminite resin. I got this from Josh Brown over at First Degree Forge. He didn't send it to me. I paid full price for it. I'll drop a link to his Instagram. He's making some pretty sweet handle material these days. But if you don't know what wrought iron is, it's we're going to talk about it here in a second. So if you don't know what wrought iron is or was, basically before mild steel was the standard in metal construction, what they used is wrought iron, which is, you know, pure iron, so to speak. There's actually a lot of impurities in it, usually like manganese, sulfur, phosphorus, things like that. And the result of that is when you clean this up and you put it in an acid bath, you get a really, really interesting pattern. It's almost like tree bark. Now, it's worth mentioning that back in the day, smiths could buy different grades of wrought iron. You could cut it and fold it to refine the grain and make it more user-friendly and get out the impurities and whatnot. And, you know, so some wrought iron will exhibit very, very distinct grain, and some will exhibit almost no grain at all. So, but if you don't know how to identify it, you can do a break test, and I'll show you that real quick. Break test is pretty simple. You just need to make a deep score in your material. We got our wrought iron right here, and this is just a bar of mild steel for comparison's sake. I used the cutoff already because I had to straighten this piece out anyway, but you can use a grinder or hacksaw or what have you. So then you really just put it in a vise and hit it with a hammer to break it. As you can see, our mild steel breaks very, very cleanly. We've got a very uniform, you know, grain structure in there. With our wrought iron, you can see it's much more coarse and fibrous, and how it kind of splits and stays together like that. You know, that's what you're looking for if you're looking for wrought iron. Alrighty, we got our guard profiled out. I've gone ahead and marked up the center with some Sharpie so I could scratch a center line. There's some center punch marks on there. We're going to drill that out and file it out until it fits the knife real nice. Alrighty, we got our holes drilled. Now it's just a matter of filing it out until we get a nice slot and then test fitting the blade. We'll have to dress up the shoulders some too, so, you know, it's just a lot of file and check, file and check, file and check. Before anybody says anything, I know the file only cuts one way. You know, I'm dragging it like this just because it's faster, and I would rather overuse the files and have to replace them more often than having to slow down and reset after every single cut. So there's a method to the madness. So we're starting to look like something. We're getting pretty close. Before I go any further and get it all the way up onto the shoulder, I'm going to go ahead and bend the quillions of the guard where I want them to go. I don't want to put any deep hammer marks in this thing, so I'm just using a wooden mallet on the horn beam stencil. It's a pretty good looking shape, I think. So next we'll just go back to filing, as well as truing up the shoulders, getting it to fit nice, and then we'll take it up the grits, polish it out, and get it ready for the acid bath. That ain't bad, I think. So to get started with our handle block, first thing I'm going to do is cut off some of the excess. It looks like most of the goings-on is going on over here. So we're going to get rid of this little bit of material right here. I do, however, like how this block comes so oversized. You have lots of room to contour it out the way you want it. But there's a little bit more here than needs, so we're going to rip that off and go from there. Alrighty, got my tang traced out. So what I'm going to do is come in from the top with this long drill bit. I've got it marked off with how deep I need to go. Drill a couple of holes. I'm going to, you know, ream it out with this here hidden tang handle broach until we get a nice fit. So if you're new to the channel and you don't know what a hidden tang handle broach is, basically after you drill your holes, you can stick this little guy in there and basically just carve out the material to get your tang to fit in there real nice. This is actually my first time working with a hybrid resin handle material like this, and I gotta say it's pretty nice. This stuff broaches super easy. Like, the broach cuts it really well. It doesn't really load up. Got a bit of an odd smell to it, but I mean, I'm sure I've smelled worse things. You know, if you've ever worked with antler or bone, it's a lot worse than this, so you can't complain too much. Alrighty, we got our hole broached out. Didn't take long at all. I had to knock this corner off so it would made up with the guard real nice, but it's looking good. So now we can go ahead and get the handle roughed out. So I don't know if you can see or not, but an idea I had for ease of fit up to keep things from shifting during the clamping, I drilled a 1/16 inch hole about 3/4 of the way through the guard and then into the handle material. So now it kind of snaps together and it can't shift around while I'm working with it and everything. So just kind of cool, I think. Alrighty, so my plan for pinning the guard to the handle material appears to have not worked. And now with the pin in, there's space between there. So that really sucks. The only way to fix it is to put a leather spacer in here, which I really did not want to do, but I knew might happen. I'm going to dye it black so it at least kind of goes with everything else. I still think it'll look cool, but having leather in there is going to freaking bother me to no end. Alrighty, got our black leather spacer of shame made up, you know. In the bladesmithing community, it's considered a cardinal sin to use leather to hide gaps in your fit-up, so if I wasn't going to hell before, I certainly am now. But because I've put so much time and effort into this, I just want it to be a functional blade when it's done. I still think it'll look good and be a beautiful knife, but, you know, I'm not trying to hide this from anyone. My handle block's shaped up. It's looking good. Feels good in the hand. So now I'm just sanding it up, making it look pretty, getting all the scratches from the grinder out. That'll do it, really. So this here was sanded to 600 grit and then buffed again. It's looking good. I got all the deep scratches that I can see out. So now we need to disassemble this baby. I'm probably going to do another acid etch on the blade just to crisp it up a little. We need to polish the guard out, etch that, and then we can assemble this thing. Here's the guard out of the acid bath. The grain's pretty fine as far as wrought iron goes. This is some pretty refined stuff. But let's get this baby put together. Now I'm just trying to get some of the excess off and clean it up a little bit before the epoxy sets up too much. And then we'll grind the pin flush and dress up the marks that leaves in the handle, and we'll be good to go. So here's what we got. All in all, I'm happy with the way it came out. From the steel making perspective, this is some of my best work because we did the canister and the San Mai. There's a lot of steps where that could have gone wrong. The handle, you know, the leather spacer bothers me. Also, I don't know if you can see or not, but it looks like as we were sanding this handle down, that hole kind of got beveled almost. So, I mean, the epoxy filled it in, so it's not structural. And this side looks fine, but next time I do think I'll wait until the very end to put the pin in. Balance point is right about there at the ricasso, so just a tiny bit forward heavy, but for a big knife like this, it you know, that's perfectly acceptable. But like I said, all in all, I'm happy with the way it came out. So if you haven't figured it out, this baby's for a charity raffle. The way we're going to run it is pretty similar to how we ran the Gladius raffle we did a while back. It's $10 per slot. You can buy however many you want. The only difference is rather than have a set number of slots like we did last time, because they went a lot faster than I thought they would, and a lot of the problem was a lot of people didn't see the video before the 100 slots for that sword were gone, so I ended up having to kick some people's donations back, and it wasn't the best way to run it. So now we're going to run it for a duration. Today's June 1st, 2020. We're going to run this until June 15th, 2020. So 2 weeks from now, that's when we'll close it. We'll throw all the names in a random number generator and pick a winner. Whatever's left after shipping this is going to be donated to the organization I'm about to tell you about. The organization I've chosen for this charity build is Feeding America. I've donated to them before. The reason I wanted to go with them is with all this coronavirus madness going on. First things first, this channel is a politics-free zone, period. Like, your views are none of my business, mine are none of yours. Whether you think this virus is the end of the world or whether you think it's a hoax, that doesn't matter. What's indisputable is that kids are out of school and people are out of work. So food insecurity is a real problem. The reason I like this organization is one of their biggest programs is they help provide meals for school kids during the summer months when they don't have access to the school feeds them. And right now they're really kicking it into overdrive, trying to help people out. So I just think it's a good place for the money to go with everything going on in the world today. But there's that. So a lot like last time, I'll leave a link to my PayPal in the description box below. Send your donation, friends and family, so we don't gotta take the fees out of the donation money. You can buy however many slots you want. Each slot is $10. Say you buy 10, your name goes on the list 10 times. This, that, and the other. Midnight on June 15th is when I'll close it. And then the next day we'll live stream picking the winner. Now, if you're overseas, you will have to pay a customs fee to receive this thing. I don't know how much it's going to be. But the Gladius that we did the last charity raffle, it went to Ireland, and the gentleman who won it, who was very generous in splitting the shipping costs with me, by the way, he didn't have to do that. He was an awesome dude. But he had to pay a customs fee to receive the sword, and he refused to tell me how much it was because he said, you know, he didn't want me to feel bad. But just so you know, if you're overseas and you want to get in on the raffle and you win this thing, you are going to have to pay a customs fee to receive it. I don't know how much that's going to be, so there's that. And before I call the end of the video, I just want to say thanks to everybody. You know, thanks for following along with the build, watching the videos, liking, commenting, subscribing, all that jazz. Patrons of the channel, big shout out to you guys. Your giveaway's coming up this month too. Those of you who follow me on the other social media, you know, you guys are super cool also. But that's all I got for you. If you like what you saw, like, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Always more cool stuff coming. Hopefully we can get a nice big donation going with this thing. But that's all I got for you. Y'all take care.